I saw a quote from Bono, of all people, that I read yesterday. See if you can find this, where he was talking about it when he was young. He thought that the world's problems could be solved by a redistribution of wealth, but now he realizes that healthy commerce is the way to a better society.
Yeah, look, socialism doesn't work. You know, there's every cliche in the world. It works great till you run out of other people's money. You know, all of those quotes. It doesn't work, and I've encountered those people in debates that think it does. I've had people in the focus group situation that say they shouldn't be prosecuting shoplifting because they're just going in there and taking what's rightfully theirs. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? They said, well, these corporations aren't paying enough. They're not paying a living wage, so they're just going in and taking what's rightfully theirs. And I'm saying, well, so, okay, if you're wanting equal outcome. No, I'm just wanting equal opportunity. No, you're wanting equal outcome because you're saying everybody should just help themselves so they all can live. What if one person spent 15 years going to college and working their butt off to acquire what I call consequential knowledge, and the other person was sitting home in a beanbag eating Cheetos for 15 years? You think they should have the same outcome? Well, yeah, that's a right. Everybody has a right to a reasonable life. Well, go read The Little Red Hen. I mean, did they not go over that in grade school?
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that one? That's a good book. I'll send you a copy.
What was the premise of The Little Red Hen?
Well, she was going around saying, "Hey, help me harvest the grain, will you?" And you know, the grasshopper said, "I'm just basking in the sun here." And then she goes to the next animal, "Help me with this." "No, hey, I'm busy right now." Then it comes wintertime, and they all kind of want to come eat the bread. And so, well, you didn't help when it was time to get the grain in, but now you want to eat the bread. And so, sorry, I didn't get enough in to feed you all because you never helped. And so they're all out there freezing to death, and it just doesn't work that way. You got to pitch in if you want to be there when it's time to chow down. And people don't understand it doesn't work if you don't contribute. It doesn't work.
And the scary thing is this idea that people have that the government should provide for them and that they deserve it. It just reinforces this, and it just compounds it.
You know, even I've worked a lot in rehab, and I don't mean drug rehab. I'm talking about whatever it is. If you have a head injury, if you have someone that's injured on the job and they're having to re-educate their body, spinal injury or whatever, if you don't require that person to do everything they can do every single time they face a task, you're cheating them because they'll never get to the next level. I mean, if a paraplegic takes 11 minutes to get across a room to flip a light switch and you don't require them to do that, then they'll never do it in 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 6 minutes, and then where they can actually do it. Now, if they can't do it, they can't do it. But you need to require them to do everything they can do for themselves before you help them to do it. And we should always help them to do it, but you should let them do as much as they can do. And that's the same way with everybody in the world. They should do everything they're able to do. And if we have people on the government dole that aren't doing everything they can do to help themselves, whether they're among the homeless population or the drug population or the mentally ill population, whatever, I'm totally understanding that you help people, but you give them a hand up, not a hand out. There's a big difference. And we're just not doing that. You've got to require people to do everything they can do to help themselves so they, again, observe themselves doing more and more. and they have pride in what they achieve and what they accomplish. And we've gotten away from that. We're not doing that.
But it seems like, especially when you're talking about like the homeless population, you would need so many people to work with those people, because you're talking about a psychological shift, a way of viewing the world with discipline and accountability that you're not going to just get people to adopt on their own. I mean, very few people will. Most people will do the very least that they have to do. And if there's programs and different ways they can acquire money and food, they'll just stay in whatever state they're at. You know, I was watching this video today of a guy who's in Hollywood who built a house on the street. He built a small house. And they were talking to all the people in the neighborhood about it, and they had the cops come and visit him, and they offered to take him to a shelter, and he's like, no, I don't want to go. And they go, okay, and they just leave him there. So this guy's built a structure on wheels. It's like a small shed, but a wooden house, because he said that every time he had a tent, they took the tent away.
Yeah.
So he just built a house.
Well, that's pretty industrious.
Yeah, but why can't he apply that to other things, right?
Exactly, and he can.
But he needs coaching.
And I don't care how flat you make a pancake, it's got two sides. And the side where he says, I don't want to go to a shelter. If you go to a shelter, what do you do with all your stuff? Because there's nowhere inside that shelter to take all of your stuff. And he has things. And he might have an animal. And that animal he's attached to, and you can't take that animal in the shelter. And you can't take your things in the shelter. And if you can't take your animal and your things in the shelter, they're not going to go. And they leave their things on the street, they'll be gone when they come out the next morning. So a shelter's not always the answer. So you got to have empathy for those people. And he may be trying to do the best he can, but you got to create alternatives where he says, okay, look, if he's industrious enough that he's built a house on wheels and they're pirating electrical, some of them from service poles.
Yeah.
Some of them have 10-man tents, and they've got flower beds in front of them.
Yeah, this guy had plants hanging out in front of his house.
That's pretty industrious. Now, if that guy's got that much initiative, and he could use that in other ways, find him a place where he can do that, where he can not be obstructing traffic, not be in front of somebody's business, be in an area where he can build that house, and then maybe he can inspire somebody else to do the same thing, and then he can maybe, it starts to snowball. You work with what you have. I'm not saying these people can start running their own business tomorrow, but build on what you have.